Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the SIUE Housing Move-In webinar. We'll give it just about another minute or so as folks are still joining. Um, but just be patient, and we'll get started here in about a minute. Okay, well, we will go ahead and get started. Thank you again for attending tonight's webinar about move-in. We're really looking forward to each of you joining our fall 2026, spring 2027 housing community here at SIUE. Um, we hope to answer any questions that folks have about move-in. We do have some prepared slides to work through. But if you do have questions, please feel free to use the Q&A feature. You should be able to click the Q&A button from the device that you're using, and you can type the questions in. Some of those we will answer kind of during the presentation. Either I'll answer those directly, or we have some staff working in the background that will also be answering questions as we move through. So we do want to make sure, though, that everybody's questions are answered. So again, please make sure that you utilize the Q&A section of the webinar to ask those questions. My name is Dan Rosner. I serve as the Associate Director for Housing Operations here at SIUE, and I'm joined by two of my colleagues, Kara and Bridget, who work in our central housing office. If you've called the office or interacted with our application chat, you may have talked with one of us previously as well. So with that, we will go ahead and get started. So hopefully folks have signed up for a move-in time. If you've received your housing assignment, and we are still assigning students, but if you've received your housing assignment, you should be able to go in and select a move-in day and time. We would strongly recommend that you schedule that as soon as possible. The deadline is coming up. It is in August, but you will receive nearly daily reminders to sign up for a day and time if you've not yet selected one. I know that some folks may have questions about the day and time. It really is designed so that we can help best manage traffic, both on campus and during the move-in process, and staff volunteers appropriately as well. So that's why there are limited time slots per time with that. The half an hour time slot is designed so that that is when will go and actually get your key. And we'll talk about that location here in a little bit. You may not move in during that specific half-hour time block. You'll be released in waves as you move through for that as well. It's not that you only have that half-hour time slot, though, to move all of your belongings into that space. It's really just that window for you to go to our check-in areas, check in, get your key, and then proceed through the rest of the move-in experience. For check-in, once students have selected a move-in time slot, they should have received a confirmation email. Bluff Hall residents will check in at Evergreen Hall for their time. Prairie and Woodland Hall residents will check in at the Morris University Center, which is where orientation was held. So if you attended orientation, that's where the Morris University Center is. Residents can check in at their scheduled move-in time or after, but not before. And again, that helps us manage traffic as best as possible. For more specific move-in instructions, you can just visit siue.edu/housing/move-in. And then you can find those specific instructions for move-in and which community you're headed to. During the check-in process, residents will get their keys. If they're in Bluff Prairie, Woodland, or Evergreen, they will get a room key and a mail stop or mailbox key. It is critical that they have an ID with them. Ideally, their student ID would be preferable, but any photo ID, driver's license, non-driver's license, passport, etc., it does need to be a legal ID, is needed to pick up the key. From there, if you are checking into Bluff Prairie, Woodland, or Evergreen, you'll receive a car line number. That is in which the order that we released students and their families to move from the check-in location to the actual building to drop off belongings. And again, that helps us manage traffic as best as possible. This next piece is very important. Only one vehicle is allowed to unload at the assigned building circle. So that is for Bluff Prairie, Woodland, and Evergreen specifically. So as you're packing vehicles, I would make sure that one vehicle has as much more stuff than any other vehicle. Other vehicles can go with, they will just be directed to the parking lot, and they would unload from the parking lot. The one vehicle that will go to the circle, move-in crew volunteers will be available to help with move-in. They'll help unload the car, load it onto some of the carts that we have, and then take it up to the room. Again, would highly recommend condensing and moving heavy items first, and some of this lighter or smaller items maybe be what is transported from the parking lots. Other vehicles must stay in Lot B or the Evergreen Hall, Bluff Hall parking lot. For that as well. And then after 4:30, all vehicles are allowed to the building circle. So kind of after moving is done, that's when folks can go back. What we generally see is students that may have earlier time slots. They may unload, maybe get lunch with their family. If they need to run to Walmart or Target or the grocery store, wherever, they'll go do that. And then by the time that they get back, it'll be about around 4:30, and they'll be able to unload those additional items in the building circle. We do, as I mentioned, we have housing moving crew, which are returning SIUE student volunteers. They'll be wearing gray t-shirts with red writing. That's a moving crew. And they are there to help load and unload one cart to carry carry items into the building. Again, they will kind of blitz your vehicle as you pull up to the front circle, and they will take all of your items directly to your room so that you can then begin unpacking. But it really helps make move-in a pretty simple process. Most students really appreciate how quickly we can get them moved in, and we could not do it without the moving crew volunteers. For Cougar Village move-in, check-in will take place in the Cougar Village parking lot. It'll be the first one on the left. As you're pulling in, you will see plenty of signage for there. It is a drive-through check-in, so actually stay in your car. You won't park. You'll kind of stay in line. You'll pull up to the tent. Our staff will go in and check you and make sure that you have your ID with you. You will receive just an apartment key because your apartment key does open up your mailbox. And from there, you're released to go directly to your apartment in Cougar Village. And there's ample parking around. Students can also unload on some of the larger sidewalks as well to get closer to their building. As I mentioned, make sure that you bring an ID. You'll drive through, and again, you'll just pull once you check in. You'll pull straight to your Cougar Village apartment. For Evergreen Hall, residents will check in directly at Evergreen. They can check in at their scheduled move-in time or after, but again, not before. Again, works very similar to the other residence halls. Move-in at Evergreen is pretty spread out because it is over that weekend, that Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So the number of students checking in per time slot is a little bit less than some of the other buildings because of the students being upper class. You'll park in the Evergreen parking lot and then go directly into the building to check in. Make sure that you get in line to check in and get your keys. And again, just like any other check-in, make sure that you bring your ID with you. And for now, I will turn it over to Bridget.
Awesome. Thank you, Dan. So, you know the steps to move in, but now how to prepare for move in. One of the biggest things I think is taking all your items out of the boxes that you bought them in. So, like your mini fridge, stuff like that. Get them out of the box, then load them into your car. We do have recycling and trash rooms in the building, but as you can imagine, those fill up so fast on move-in day because everyone has all that trash in boxes. So it gives you one less thing to do on that day, and it makes it easier for us as well. So just consolidate your trash, leave it at home, and then bring your items with you. Another great idea for bringing your items is reusable tote bags. Not a plug, but IKEA bags. Those are large and durable and can hold a lot of items, and it's something easy to just put a whole bunch of stuff in, easy to carry and stack for our move-in crew, and you as well. And a big thing is don't overpack. You are sharing these rooms with another student. You do have storage, like a closet, dresser, all that stuff, but you don't need to bring everything that is in your room now. During breaks and whatnot is when you can go home and switch out like summer clothes to winter clothes and stuff like that. We do have an extensive list of what to bring and what not to bring on our website. So if you go to that link, there are items there that we recommend and then some items that we do not allow. And we also like at any time you can ask us if you can bring this or not, and we will answer that for you. Next slide, please. So move-in is a fun, exciting day. Everything that Dan went over, it is very like technical, a lot of instructions, but it is a super exciting day, and like everyone is truly going to be so excited to greet you and welcome you. Our move-in crew are great. It is a big day for us. I always call it my Super Bowl. There's a lot going on. It's exciting, but we do ask that you still be patient throughout the process. We have it down to a science, and we always do our best to be timely and make sure everyone gets moved in safely and happily. So after move-in, on that Friday evening for first year students, that is when you will have your first building meeting. So at 5 p.m., the entire building will meet down in your MFR, which is in your activity wing. And don't worry if you don't know where that's at, your RAs and other staff will help show you where that is. And it's just a short 45 minute meeting, kind of just going over some key important things that you need to know now that you are moved in. But then after that, it's a welcome weekend, which is super fun. I highly encourage everyone to go to these events. So they are all open for new incoming students. And so they start on Wednesday night. So if you're an international student, there's an international student welcome. And then throughout the evening in various locations throughout campus, the campus rec team is hosting different events. Like in that picture, there's always sand volleyball. The esports arena is always open, um, and a lot to go to and hang out at. And then it's also first year first night, which is an iconic annual huge event that SIUE always puts on for first year students, where there's been musicians in the past, a whole bunch of stuff. And I remember going as a first year student, and like I truly won't ever forget it. It was a great time. So make sure you go to that on Thursday. Then continuing out through the weekend, Friday, I would say, is one of the most exciting days. It's your first full day on campus with all the welcome weekend stuff. So get out there and meet your majors. So, whatever you're majoring in, there will be faculty and staff in various locations around campus to meet you. This is your first time to meet the faculty that you are going to be with throughout your entire career at SIUE. So, I highly encourage you to go to make that first connection. And then after that is convocation, which in that picture, you might be thinking, what are they doing? They're having a great time. So it's just a really fun hype up event where you get a free t-shirt, a welcome from the chancellor and other um, staff members on campus. And then from the Vidal Bean Center, they will walk you all the way to the quad where you'll get your class picture. So that banner you've been signing at orientation, you will carry that to the Cougar statue and you will all pose together for your class picture, which if you've been in Rendleman Hall, you see all of them hanging. I still go and look at mine. And then after your picture, you have a parade, or after the picture is the Sweet Treat Social, you will see me there. There are plenty of sweet treat options. Last year, there was nothing but cakes, snow cones, a whole type of goodies, and there's music and a good time. And then for the rest of the evening, there'll be a DJ with some yard games in the quad to keep the party going. And then if you want to just chill, there are some where they're going to have a video game truck come to the quad and play some, like, there'll be different video games for you to play and also some different, like, yard games and stuff like that. So really something for everyone. Saturday is the day where you can really start to get involved at SIUE. So there's Cougars in the Community, which is a volunteer opportunity. So you can sign up for different volunteer locations, whether it just be going to the gardens and cleaning up, or cleaning up trash in a neighborhood. The most popular ones going to the Humane Society and walking animals, taking care of them, cleaning up after them, all that stuff. So it's an opportunity to get volunteer hours, meet new people, and help out your new community that you're living in. And then for any transfer students, we have a transfer welcome for you, so you can meet other transfer students as well. And then first gen students, we also have something for you. And then after all of that, there's Greek Life 101. So if you are interested in Greek life on campus, they will be around in various locations to meet you and ask any questions and for you to get more information about joining Greek life on campus. And then Saturday, the fun continues. There will be a volleyball game at the VC. Um, Seto night, which is new, I believe. So that will be something exciting to see. Ultimate Uno game, I'm here for that. Sounds like a great time. Silent disco, mini golf, also here for that. And then there's also going to be a quiet space in the muck. So if you ever just want to do something, but you don't feel like doing something super involved, you can just go hang out in a quiet space and meet some people and chill out. And then Sunday, we will start to wind down as you prepare for your first day of classes. So there will be the morning boosts in yoga, some just sessions to ground you basically, or just relax. And then there's also going to be a resume and job skills session, which I highly encourage because this is your like first big college step of building your resume and start planning your goals for your next 4 years. And in Campus Rec, we'll also have an open house. And so, really, what that is all the club sports they have and just different activities. You can learn more about those and get involved. Highly encourage. There's so much to do within Campus Rec. If you're an active person, that is definitely for you. And if you're not, I still encourage it because it's a good time to get active and do some of the fun things on campus. There's also going to be a movie bingo, which I'm super excited about. So we will be streaming a movie, and then throughout the movie, there's an interactive bingo game for you all to participate in, and it will show you who's winning or who wins in a scoreboard as well. And a lot of questions I've been seeing people ask lately is about student employment. And so that office will be in the Student Success Center at 1 to help get you connected to Cougar Jobline and answer any of your student employment questions. So highly encourage that if you are looking for a job on campus. So that was a short list of everything that is going on for Welcome Weekend. There are, surprisingly not, more events happening during Welcome Weekend. And after you move in, your RAs and other staff members will connect you to find exactly every single event that's going on, what time they're at, where they're at, and get you to those events. So make sure you're on the lookout for that. But now you just have some events in mind to look forward to for welcome weekend. And then after all that stuff on Sunday, as you're winding down, getting ready for the first day of class, you will have a meeting after 5 p.m. with your RA. So that is for your specific wing or your building in Cougar Village. So they will kind of just check in with you, go over some like last minute items that you may need, answer any questions, and just be a nice little hangout. Something super exciting we added this summer are 3D tours. And so we have 3D tours of all the types of different spaces that we have. So that QR code and that link take you to a website where we have every single 3D tour available. So if you haven't been to orientation yet, or if you have and you want to see the space again, it is there for you to look virtually. Through that system, you can measure, and so a lot of questions are about specific measurements. And so you can measure throughout the 3D tour. And it's not like for the first year hall, it's a 3D tour of our showroom. So it's not going to show you every single first year room that we have available, but all of them are the same. So what you see in a 3D tour is very similar to what you'll be moving into in the fall. So that is pretty much all that we had to go over today. If you have any questions and you don't feel like asking them today, you can always contact our office. That is our email and phone number. And please follow us on social media, so Facebook and Instagram. We always have a lot going on there. And we understand that moving on to campus, it's a lot. There's a lot of questions. And so we are truly here to help you and answer those. And then as now, we will open up the Q&A. So if there's any questions, we can answer those live.
So I did see a question about parking lots and extra cars. Vehicles can be moved to the building parking lots after check-in. Most families will go ahead and move it. I will say on Thursday, those lots will be a little bit more full just after move-in on Wednesday. But all of our parking lots are pretty oversized compared to the number of residents that live in those spaces. So there should still be enough space for parking. To hang things on the wall, we definitely recommend painter's tape is generally the safest. Some students do use command strips as long as they are removed properly, but we do ask that like tacks and other adhesives are not utilized because it will damage the drywall. So again, painter's tape is typically the safest option. Command strips, if removed properly, typically work as well.
I see a question about the height of the beds. So in the first year hall, so Black Prairie and Woodland, when you move in, the beds are at their highest height of 3 feet. They can't go any higher, and we also don't allow lofting or raisers, but they can be bunked. And so if that's something you want to do, you do have to put in a maintenance request to bunk the beds. And if you do want to lower them, we can do that, but you still have to put in a maintenance request to do that as well.
We did get a question about U-Hauls. There's not any policy against having a U-Haul. I would just be aware of how many items you're bringing, just to make sure that it fits for you and your roommate. But yes, we do have some students that bring small trailers and those types of things as well during move-in. I know that we get this question a lot in terms of which room setup that you have and like door placement. That is not something that we track. So we're not able to share that information in ahead of move-in, depending on when students request that information. That's not something that we have available. We did get a question, are rooms cleaned before move-in? The answer is yes. We do work with an outside cleaning company to clean all of the spaces prior to move-in. I will say because of the sheer number of spaces that we have, some of them are cleaned. Like for instance, Evergreen was cleaned, is typically cleaned the earliest ahead of time because we don't have summer residents in those spaces. Um, so sometimes, yes, they are all cleaned, but sometimes they may sit for a few days before move-in. But all of our spaces are checked. All of our full-time staff and facility staff do check. If there is an issue, though, upon move-in, definitely you can go to the front desk of your building and let us know. We have staff on site, both full-time and professional staff, as well as our facilities staff. So if there is an issue, we can have somebody come out and assist with that. But the front desk would be kind of the best point of contact for that. We did get a question about moving. Are you able to move the furniture in the buildings? The answer is yes. All of the furniture is movable. I know a lot of campuses have like built-in furniture that like you cannot move it unless you're unbolting it from the walls. Ours is all freestanding furniture. Now, I will say there are probably more limited configurations in terms of how you could move some of the furniture around and still have it fit within the space, or be kind of conducive to like two students living in that space, but it can all be moved. For that, if you need to raise or lower your bed, once you arrive to campus, you can either go see the front desk or you can put in a maintenance request, and we'll have staff that can assist with that. Same with bunking beds. Our facility staff will take care of that as well. Um, We did get a question about items to bring in the halls, but what about Cougar Village? Um, the rules are generally similar. The big difference between what you can bring to Cougar Village and what you can bring to the residence halls is because Cougar Village apartments have a kitchen built in with adequate fire safety. They can bring other cooking appliances that would not typically be allowed in a residence hall. Typically speaking, what's not permitted in a residence hall, and this is in conjunction with the Edwardsville Fire Department and kind of their fire safety protocols. Anything with an exposed heating element is typically not allowed. So, like a George Foreman grill, a toaster, those types of things. Again, if there's a kind of that exposed heating element or hot surface, those are not permitted in the residence halls, but those would be okay in Cougar Village because of the fire safety pieces.
There's a question about parking passes for residents. So every hall and Cougar Village each have their own parking lot. And so residents need to purchase their parking pass online. So at siue.edu/parking, they have a portal that you will log into, and that is where you will purchase your parking pass. You'll purchase the residential parking pass, which is also called the yellow pass. And then it just asks you to put in your car information, so make, model, color, and then your plate as well. And so every student is allowed to have their own car. They just need to make sure they have it registered and pay for that parking pass.
We did get a couple questions about meal plans. Meal plans are actually loaded onto students' cards, and so they can check the balance on the Get app. Those will get loaded on August 9th. The reason for that is pharmacy school starts 2 weeks prior to the regular semester. And so all meal plans just load on. So as kind of the follow-up question, meal plans would be available during Welcome Week. I would encourage students, though, to check out a lot of the events because there will be food provided at some of those events. And so that's a way to kind of help get a taste of SIUE and also meet other people, but also let you save some of those meal plan dollars for down the road. For the LED lights in Cougar Village, um, we do prohibit the LED strip lights that have the adhesive backing on it. Those do some serious damage to the drywall. Like I would not even recommend like putting them up in your house because they are really designed to be more permanent in nature, and it will actually pull like chunks of drywall out when removed. We do see some students, if you have like command hooks and you're hanging lights off of those, again, if they're removed properly, should not damage. Um, but the strip lights are prohibited across all university housing areas.
I see a question about flooring in the rooms. So it really depends on what community the student is living in. So Prairie and Woodland, I believe, have all been updated, and so they have like the LVP flooring. Bluff Hall has not been yet, so they have like that short carpet, whereas Evergreen also has that short carpet. And then out in Cougar Village, I believe it's a mix of like tile and linoleum. So it kind of just depends on where you're located at.
The 400 side of Cougar Village all has the LVP planks put in, but the 500 side is still that the linoleum tile type flooring. There was a question about how many people are allowed to help move in. There is not a limit. Again, the one thing that I would definitely recommend, and again, our office has received a lot of calls about students that are living together as roommates. They're both really excited they're going to move in at the same time. Just being aware of how many people can be in the room at a time, especially as you're unloading boxes and those kinds of things. There will be other opportunities for folks to visit, but we do not put a hard limit on how many people can help you move in. There are window coverings on the windows. They're kind of like pull down shades that are available if you, as you can kind of see on the picture online, you can kind of see that there are shades kind of pulled down at different levels. Cougar Village has more blinds and those kinds of things, but there are coverings. You would not need to necessarily bring those. We do see some students that bring like tension rods with like blackout curtains and those kinds of things. It just kind of depends on what they're looking for. The 3D tours though are kind of a great way to measure. There when you click into the 3D tour, and I'll back up on the slide so folks have that QR code again. There's a little ruler in the bottom, and once you click into the 3D tour and you can get measurements. I will say, like as most folks probably know, like while most of our spaces are like dimension wise similar to this, there could be some very slight variances in terms of height and width and those kinds of things, but it should at least give you a pretty good idea of what dimensions and those types of things would look like. We did get a question about the SIUE ID. If you've not yet attended orientation, that is when you will get your ID. Otherwise, you can go to the Service Center and pick up your ID. The Service Center is located on the ground floor of Rendleman Hall, the main administration building, which is right next to the Morse University Center. The dining does have some really good additional special menus. I'll put a general link to the dining website in the Q&A. But you can, once you click on the dining page, you can click on, I believe it's called like special meals or special dietary needs. And then there's quite a few different options of different menus and what the food options look like. They've also been labeling and doing a lot of work in the center court and their other dining venues as well. I will say if you have special dietary needs or restrictions, I would definitely highly recommend reaching out to dining. They also have a dietitian that they work with as well that can kind of help students guide through different options. But the executive chef, Chef Drake, is a great partner and is always willing to meet with students to talk through like what options would kind of fit within their restrictions or within their diet, and kind of help do some meal planning for students as well. I'm scrolling through questions.
So each student is allowed to have their own mini fridge. So there can be 2 mini fridges per room if they're in a suite. Um, and we just allow 1 microwave per room, 1 air fryer per room, but each student is allowed their own mini fridge. And then there are elevators in the halls, and so they do have to get the elevator key to use it, but they can do that in order to get their laundry up and down the stairs.
There is a question about renter's insurance. We do not offer or publicly endorse any renter's insurance policies, just because there's a lot of variables that go into it in terms of like coverage and deductible and those types of things. What I would recommend though is as you kind of think about different options, I would check with your parent or guardian's homeowner or renter's policy to see if you can be added. There are quite a few insurance companies that allow you to add like college students and kind of have like an extension policy that provides some coverage for that. There are also a lot of other just insurance companies that do provide some different levels of insurance for that as well. The university, if you log in to pay your bill, the university does partner with GradGuard, which I believe that there is a housing component. I don't know that it's as traditional as like renter's insurance, but there is some other types of insurance that can help cover the cost of education in times of emergency or crisis. But if you log into Nelnet or where you go to pay your bill, you should see information about GradGuard. I also believe that during orientation, the university talked about, or the bursar's office talked about GradGuard as well. That is handled through the bursar's office, so I would recommend reaching out to their office if you have any specific questions about GradGuard. But in terms of renter's insurance, there is not a specific company that we endorse or recommend. Definitely, I would start with your own insurance policy and then look at other options that are out there. Windows do open. I did see that question. The windows do open. Again, we do ask that hopefully similar to at home, if you have your air conditioning up all the way and it's really hot outside, that you're not leaving your window open because a lot of time that can also pull in humidity into the building and those types of things. And same during the winter, if you have your heat on full blast and you're opening your window at night, or just when it's cold outside. It's not good for the HVAC system as well, but the windows do open, especially during. We definitely encourage students to utilize that during some of the changing of seasons. For those of you not from the area, the weather and temps can swing pretty hard during fall and spring, where it might go from like 20 degrees to 60 degrees in just a span of a day or two. So a lot of students do engage or do utilize the windows to kind of help catch in between with that.
There's a question about the first day they can stay in the halls. And so students do have to select a move-in time. And so on that date is when they move in, and then they can stay, like they're moved in after that. So they are here for the semester. If for any reason the student can't make it to those move-in times that we provide, they can request an early move-in. And there's a form within the My Housing portal they have to complete to request an early move-in.
I saw a question about for move-in, if you and your roommate are about an hour apart or just different parts, you can bring some of your roommate's belongings. There is not any concern with that. In fact, I think that we have quite a few students that may combine, especially like larger items into like their main vehicle that they're bringing into the circle. That is totally fine with that. We did get a question about how a student can request to room with a different person other than the assigned roommate, and what's the process to request a single room. Right now, due to the large incoming first year class, there are not any private rooms available for this academic, or at least for the fall semester. Our office does manage we facilitate a space change form that is that the community directors and the staff in those particular residence halls engage with. That typically opens a few weeks into each semester. Students are recommended to talk with their RA, talk with their community director if there are any issues. Um, to again start to work through some of those. Our staff spend quite a bit of time during training to help students advocate for themselves, set boundaries, and just learn to live with one another. If there's any parents on the call, or if you've been to orientation, I'm sure that you've heard us talk a little bit about, or maybe a lot about, just the life skills that come with living with another person, and how to navigate that, and just some of the challenges that are associated with it. Um, and so our staff are prepared to help students work through any of those challenges. Um, the other piece that I will share as well is, and this goes back to, we've been doing a resident satisfaction survey for I think we're coming up on almost 30 years now. But students that are in shared bedrooms have a significantly higher satisfaction rate than students in private bedrooms. The students in private bedrooms tend to feel a lot more isolated and disconnected from the overall community. And so in terms of living in a shared space, it honestly, while there could be challenges that come along with that, those students tend to have a much better experience living on campus.
Someone asked how long families are allowed to stay to help with move-in. So the official like move-in process tends to like end around 4:30. So that's when, like, for first year move-in, that's when move-in crew is done. Like the circle opens up and like the staff side of it is done. Um, Technically families can stay as long as they want, but the student does have to go to their building meeting if this is on Thursday, and we do encourage students to attend those welcome weekend events. Um, and so, again, just encourage your student to go to those and say your goodbyes and see you laters, and then send them on their way to those fun events for later.
We did get a question about changing your move-in day. Um, Typically, students moving in on the 19th, the vast majority of our move-in time slots are for special program groups that have kind of a pre-orientation or pre-welcome week activities Wednesday evening. If you're a part of that group, you would have had an earlier time slot, like before, usually like 3 or 3:30 on that Wednesday. You can, if you let our office know, you can just send us an email, housing@siue.edu. We can move you out of that priority group, so you can move in on the other day. But know that you may not be able to engage with some of those special activities for that. But we can accommodate work schedules. Um, we did get a question about how the rooms are assigned, or that we don't track left and right side of the bed. We leave that up to the student. So again, you may want to just reach out to your roommate and see if there's some preference there, or wait till you come. Um, but that is not something that we assign and hold students to.
There's a question about what is needed for laundry, whether it's a card or coins, and it is nothing. Laundry is free within housing. And so the students don't have to pay anything. They just have to bring their own cleaning supplies. And so the machines, it's just you press them to start, and you can track them through an app to see when everything is done and flip them. Um, and so, yeah, you don't have to bring any type of payment for laundry. And I saw someone again ask about transporting their clothes in laundry to and from the laundry rooms. And so there are carts available within the laundry room that any student can use. They just have to return it to the laundry room. And so if the student doesn't want to carry their belongings up and down the stairs in a hamper, they can go to the front desk to request an elevator key to take it up and down that way. But in the first year halls, you do have to get the elevator key at the front desk to use that and transport your clothing that way.
We did get a question about ice machines and water fountains. There are ice machines. They're located in the laundry room of each residence hall. There are also water fountains available with the water bottle filler station as well. So yes, ice machines and water fountains. So there is a question, it popped up underneath. You are able to stay and decorate after you unload. You just would need to relocate your car. So once the car that goes to the Circle Drive, you will unload it and then it should be immediately relocated to the parking lot, just so we can keep cars moving through. But once you do that, you are able to stay in your room and decorate and do all of those different things. Again, we have some students that do, and their families, they will just stay and decorate and get everything set up and then kind of bring empty containers back out to their vehicles. We have other students that like drop some stuff off, maybe do a little bit unpacking, take a break, maybe grab some food, maybe run a couple errands in town, and then come back. It just kind of depends on probably what time you're coming, and if your roommate's moving in and those kinds of things. But there is a lot of flexibility with that.
Someone asked what the name of the laundry app is, and it is called One Tap Away. Within all the laundry room, there is signage and QR codes for the app, so you can always scan that QR code or see the exact information there as well. But it is called One Tap Away.
We got a question about meals. So students that have selected a meal plan, which all first year students were required to select a meal plan on their housing application. It is optional for upper class students, though I would say the vast majority of our students select a meal plan. They are automatically loaded onto the student's Cougar card, which you can get from the service center if you've not gotten from orientation. Those will load on students' cards on August 9th. If you use the Get app, GET, you can also check the balance for your cards. If you run out of money on your meal plan, the student or other folks can add money to their cards through the Get app. So definitely recommend checking that out, so you can kind of best manage and budget your meal plan money. Meal plans are reloaded after the end of the spring semester, or I'm sorry, after the end of the fall semester, and any balance from the fall would carry over to the spring as well. But it is all automatically loaded onto their cards. Had some great questions. Are there any other questions kind of hanging out there? Again, we're happy to answer any questions that folks have. Um, if you think of questions after the webinar is done, you can send us an email. We generally return emails well before 24 hours after their business hours after they're sent. You can also give us a call. Where our office is open from 8 to 4:30 Monday through Friday. Um, you can also chat with us through the My Housing app application where you applied for housing. Any way that we're able to help answer questions, we can do that. As it was shared earlier, we will also post this webinar under siue.edu/movein, and that typically goes up within about 24 or so hours. We did get a question about Bluff Hall, and I'll expand it to all three of our first year buildings. So Bluff, Prairie, and Woodland Hall, they are all identical. Like if you look at them from Google Maps, they have the same footprint, same number of students. They are all co-ed buildings, so we have they're all co-ed, and then there are 3 floors in each building. As well. Each one also has an activity wing. All 3 buildings are suite style residence halls.
So for appliances in the room for a first year student, like mentioned, every student is allowed to have their own mini fridge, just cannot be any larger than 5 cubic feet. And then one microwave and air fryer is allowed per room. But in my opinion, what else do you need other than an air fryer? You can have both. You're not required to bring both. We also allow crock pots, Keurigs, um, small rice cookers, stuff like that, just nothing with an open heating element. So as far as like microwaves and air fryers, they just cannot exceed a 800-watt limit.
There's a question about parking passes. So every residential student, if they are bringing a vehicle to campus, they would need to purchase a housing parking pass. They can do that through parking, siube.edu/parking. The residential passes are the yellow pass. So just make sure that that you select a yellow pass. And from there, they would be able to park in any residential lot or any red lot on campus. There any other questions?
For the honors meeting happening on Wednesday, I'm not positive if it's a like drop in or full attendance meeting, but I'm going to assume that it is a full meeting that the student needs to like go and attend.
Yes, there was a question about Bluff. Bluff does have carpet. There is a question about guests. So during move-in, you can have friends or family help you move in. After move-in, though, you will have to check your guests in. That's a great question. Your guest would need to bring a photo ID with them. We will be rolling out a platform where you can pre-register guests to expedite guest check-in at the desk, but they are required to check in. Um, any guest that stays past 2 a.m. is considered an overnight guest, and there are limits on the number of nights that overnight guests can stay. For first year students, they are required to have their roommate sign off on an overnight guest, but there will be more information about that policy and how to navigate that during your first meeting in your residence hall after move-in. Um, I will say sometimes it is common to not hear back from roommates when reaching out. It just depends on how frequently they're checking their SIUE email account. We're planning on pushing out some reminders, and we typically share at that point, reminding folks to check their SIUE email account. That generally helps kind of spur them to check. But I wouldn't say that it's totally uncommon. Our office is processing some cancellations as well from students that for a reason are no longer attending SIUE, so that may also be part of it, but we do follow up on all of those. Um, there was a question about oh, that was already answered. Any rules regarding staying the night in somebody else's room? Again, if you're not a resident of the building, you would have to be checked in. So if I live in Bluff and I'm visiting my friend in Prairie, I would have to check in at the desk. Any guest that stays past 2 a.m. is considered an overnight guest, and there are rules and limits For all of our guests, though, the resident checking them into the building, they are responsible for their guests' actions, and the guests are responsible for all of the university housing policies that can be found in the Living Guide. Upon move-in, every resident will receive a copy of the Living Guide that outlines all of the policies that are there. One thing though that I would recommend, kind of even outside of the rules though, is to have some conversations about with your roommates, and or suite mates, depending on the type of space you're in, about guests, where folks' comfort levels are, and those types of things. For overnight guests though, the roommate does have to sign off on the overnight guests coming. So it's important that you have those conversations in advance, but we have some structures there to help support students with that as well. Rugs are permitted. We have some students that do bring rugs into the spaces. Again, I would just make sure that they're not way too big, because sometimes that can cause some issues, but we do see some rugs on campus. Yeah, for check-in in Cougar Village, yes, you would still need an ID. That's how we verify that it's you picking up the key. For guests, during move-in, you don't need a parking pass. Once you arrive, though, we have instructions around all of our desks. You can actually register guest vehicles online now, and get a guest permit all electronically. So you used to have to get parking passes at the front desk. You don't have to do that anymore. And again, there's some information once you check in of how to engage with that. Parking as a whole has moved away from parking passes, so they've moved to license plate readers, which again has kind of eased a lot of those parking processes. We do not have a curfew for residents at all, either upper class or first year students. I will say after business hours in the residence halls, the front doors will lock, so it's important that students bring their ID with them, because that's how they can swipe to get back in. The desks are staffed. Bluff Prairie, Woodland, and Evergreen, they're all staffed 24 hours, so if they do forget their ID or lose it, they can call the front desk from the vestibule, and can be let in that way, so don't worry that they're going to be like stranded. That is not the case, but there is not a curfew that exists for our residents. For extension cords, we do not permit extension cords. Again, that's kind of in conjunction with the Edwardsville Fire Department, and just the fire safety risks that are associated with it. Surge protectors are permitted, and so typically what we see are students that bring a UL surge protector, UL rated surge protector, that just has a longer cord, that kind of helps get at the kind of what the extension cord would do. There's not an age limit for overnight guests, so that is not something that is currently in effect. Got about a minute or so left. Any last questions? Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and end the webinar. Keep an eye out on your email. We will send out, once it has been uploaded. Again, we work to get these uploaded as quickly as possible. If you do have any other questions, though, absolutely contact our office, housing@siub.edu, or you can give us a call, 618-650-3931. And we will answer you as quickly as we're able to. Our office, the Central Housing Office, is open from 8 to 4:30, Monday through Friday. So if you have questions, definitely let us know. Looks like we did get a couple other quick questions that I'll answer very quickly. Yes, you can use your Cougar card for any on-campus dining location. So that includes Chick-fil-A, Boss Burger, etc. So anything in Center Court. There's Freshens out in the Vidal Center or Student Fitness Center. Union Station it can be used at, Chemega Mart. So any on-campus dining location it can be used at. And then for summer housing, residents, and I'll make this really quick. I would encourage you though to reach out to our office because summer is a little bit of a unique term for housing. Um, Generally, how residential students do stay in Cougar Village, they are consolidated to one section of Cougar Village for the summer. Um, Summer is broken into three kind of mini terms, May term, summer one, and summer two, and students can stay in any combination of those three terms. Typically speaking, you need to live with us either the prior spring and following fall, or be enrolled in classes for summer to be eligible to live on campus for the summer. But again, I would highly recommend contacting our office, and we can walk you through those pieces. Elevators are available. You may just need to check out the elevator key from the front desk to help kind of with continued move-in as well. The times where we'll be controlling the elevators are during the Wednesday and Thursday time slots for that, or in Evergreen Friday and Saturday. Well, perfect. Well, it is 8 o'clock. So thank you again for joining us. And we can't wait to welcome you to SIUE shortly. Thank you.